All right. Good morning, everyone. David Severance here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Glad to see everybody there. I see a few friendly faces that I know, Wayne and Sarah and some others. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. I know you're expecting someone else to hop on. Had a little bit of a personnel issue this morning that we're dealing with. I'm delighted to step in for a little bit and spend some time with you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Severance. I'm one of the coaches here at Chirag Shah Coaching. I focus mostly on leadership, leading yourself and leading your teams. Actually, starting next week, I will be here on Wednesdays at 11:30 Eastern to start up my calls again. I've been doing calls on CSC since 2021. Just been taking a break for the last couple of months. So delighted to be here with you today. I'd like to just check in with everybody. We've been dealing with the NAR situation, the whole lawsuit situation. We're hearing from a lot of agents. Some people see this as an opportunity. Some people see this as a risk. And I'm just curious to hear a little bit about where you come down on that at this moment. Could you please take a moment to just put into the chat whether you see this opportunity or this situation as an opportunity for your business or a risk to your business? Let's just see where the group maps out. Drop something in the chat, please. Of course, we're going to be picking up this topic at 12 o'clock. Chirag's going to start his series on that, and we'll be dealing with it, obviously, with our mastermind groups and other folks going forwards. So I see a lot of people here saying opportunity. I see a couple of people saying both. So I'd like to ask a couple of you to just, add another word or another sentence or so into the chat. What is the opportunity that you see for your business in all of this? Please put that into the chat. And if you see a risk, primarily a risk, what is the risk that you're kind of focused on to the business? Let's hear from a couple of you in the box. Because it's easy to say it's an opportunity, right? But what's the opportunity, right? If we're going to seize an opportunity, we need to know what we're talking about. So drop that in the chat and we'll talk about it. All right, understanding our value to separate us out from others, yes. An opportunity to sharpen my skills, differentiate good agents from the rest, opportunity to hone my skills and be valued for my skills as a buyer's agent, solidifies the value of our expertise as buyer's agents, and working with people that know and want that value. Great. So how many of you, a lot of people are talking about the opportunity to differentiate yourselves or succeed with this opportunity to kind of communicate your value. How many of you feel like you're up to the task? And how many of you feel like you need a little more work? Drop that in the chat, please. "75% ready, need more work. I'm doing the Matt Spangler training. That's certainly good. More practice. Always could improve." I'm glad to hear this because one of the things that we hear from a lot of the agents, especially the experienced ones, are, well, you know what? I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm already good enough. Well, one of the things I'll be talking about in my upcoming programs is these 10 success principles for Compass agents. And one of them touches on this kind of arrogance that we might have. Well, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've sold so many billions of real estate so far. And why do I need to keep learning? Why do I need to keep growing? But the very fact that you're here tells me that you see some value in growing. But if that desire that you have to succeed through growth and learning stops the moment you kind of seat yourself into your history and your experience, which is, I really don't need to work on this. I'm really good at selling. I'm really good. My pitch is awesome. I've gotten so many sales from it over the years. I don't need to change. That's the moment where things start to go south. And this is true in every business. The moment that you start to think that you don't need to learn, you don't need to grow, or you're on top of the heap, is the moment that you start falling behind. So for those of you who wrote, well, I'm mostly there, I could improve, what aspect of this specifically, be as specific as you can, about what's the part that's missing for you? What's the part that you need to do better or differently? Where do you feel like you're falling short? Because again, it's not good enough to say, well, I think I'm mostly there, but I could be better. Okay, great. What does that mean? Confidence, okay. Running each transaction consistently each time and not changing, okay. What else? What do you think you're missing? What is it that you think you need to do better or differently to really nail this opportunity? Embrace change. Wayne, let me ask Wayne to come off mute for a minute here, please. Wayne, when you say embrace change, what do you mean? Because you've been seeing change all the time that you've been in the business. Let me just ask you, what do you mean when you say embrace change?
I've been in the business since I started full time in 2000, and I've seen so many changes. I sometimes I feel like Rip Van Winkle, meaning that I probably fell asleep and then I wake up in this world where everything has changed. From Zillow taking over to these mega teams. I'm like, where did these mega teams come from? When I got in the business, we didn't have mega teams.
Yep.
And
Can I ask someone to mute herself, please? Thank you.
I think it's Joyce.
I'm sorry.
Joyce, thank you.
And then doing short sales. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on. And I just feel like there are people out there who they got their fingers in our purse all the time. And I'm seeing agents come and go, and I've heard that, oh, I've been doing this 15 years, I've been doing this 30 years. I just don't want to be that agent. So what I meant by embracing change is being able to embrace how fast things are moving and changing, and to be able to adapt and to learn. And I look at it as an opportunity to sharpen my skills and to get better, to become a better agent.
Yep, got it. Thank you, Wayne. All right, let's hear from someone else. Someone else said, Mary, you said nature of the business. What did you mean by that?
Hi, David. Thanks for this. And hi, Wayne. I've been doing this again. I'm going to say it since 1980, with about 10 years out for good behavior. But I think the nature of the business is change, and we have to embrace that. Otherwise, we run by fear. When I started the business, it was a 2-page contract, and then for sale by owner came in, and everybody was, oh my God, people are going to have to, going to be able to sell their houses without paying commission. And I thought, yeah, right, next. So I think sticking to the training, really learning the scripts, which I'm getting more and more confident in, but I haven't got down totally, gives me that confidence that when I get a call like I did yesterday from an elderly couple who said they found me on SRES website and they wanted an agent who specializes in seniors. I never thought that would come, but it was great because I had the Med-C right there. I knew what to ask her, and had a reading out of my hand right away. People love that. So embrace the change, keep learning, because I've never stopped learning. Maybe that's the teacher in me. I used to teach. And I think you can't go wrong. And just, it gives you that confidence you need to, talk to those clients and get them on your side.
Thank you. So, embrace change, nature of the business. These are nice things for us to acknowledge, but it really comes down to, so what are you doing, right? What are you doing to prepare your teams or support your teams to be effective in managing this current situation? You can ask yourself this simple question that Chirag has thrown out a couple of times in a couple of different sessions. If someone asked you, what do you do specifically in exchange for the compensation you're paid as an agent? Do you have a clear answer for that? And do you have an answer that's so clear and compelling that someone's willing to write a check to you at that moment? This is the essence of what it is we do as salespeople, right? The very basic idea that everyone who's in the field should get paid the same amount, regardless of their experience, regardless of their knowledge, regardless of their resources, regardless of the capabilities of their team, is nonsensical, right? And so from that point of view, the fact that people negotiate rates and may negotiate with a buyer's agent, seller's agent, or somebody else, it's perfectly sensible, right? You go where it is you think that you can get the value for what it is you're paying. You do this with your hairdresser, you do it with your lawyer, you do it with your doctor. People will pay for an experience if they see the value in the experience. And it's up to you and me and all of us to find our way of communicating that value to the person where they say, yes, I want that. Imagine, as Chirag said a couple of times, imagine if you were staying at a hotel, $1,000 a night, and you might say to them, what do I get for $1,000? Because I could pay a whole lot less for a hotel, right? Well, you want to know what it is you get for $1,000. Well, so much more. If the person's going to write a check for $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 or more, it's perfectly natural for them to want to understand what it is they get for that particular cost. And so the challenge is on all of us, and it's an opportunity for sure, to really be able to communicate what that is in a way that the client says, yes, I understand that and I want it. Two key words here are clear and compelling. It compels them to say, yep, I want that. Here's the check. And while we've all had a lot of success in pitches before, I don't know that anyone's batting 1,000, right? There's times where it is we shared what it is that we offer in whatever way we did it. We didn't get the client to say, I want you. And so as long as that's the case, certainly there's more for us to learn. But we have to bring ourselves back, especially at this moment, to that very important question. What do you do specifically in return for in exchange for the compensation you're paid? And Mary talked about the Med C. For those of you who are familiar with Med C, you got it. For those of you who are not familiar, it's talking about motivations, expectations, disappointments, and concerns. When Chirag and I originally came up with that concept, we were looking for an easily repeatable method for getting to the core of the things that matter to your client. And you, of course, raise your success rate much higher, raise your ceiling much higher when you're speaking to what the client values most. And so by doing the Med C very early in your conversations with a client, now you know what it is you need to address with the client. As Chirag has said before, if your client has 4 kids and a dog and their life is crazy, they don't care about Compass technology, or they don't care about one thing or another. What they care is that someone's going to manage this process where they don't have to think about it, they don't have to worry about it, and they know it's going to get done. And so when you know that, of course, that's what your pitch should be. Your pitch should never be a pitch. It should always be a response. That's my philosophy. It's a response to what? To what the client values most. And so whether you use Med C, whether you use something else, doesn't matter as long as you're getting to the core of what the client values. The very first principle that I'm going to be sharing in my calls starting in May is the first principle of successful agents is people will not be influenced by you unless and until they feel related to by you. And what that means is if you want someone to buy your service, or you're a leader of a team and you want your team to hop on the train and go where you're going, they will not join you until they feel related to by you. And if that's the case, then you need to make sure that you're creating a connection with the client first, or you're asking them for business. So how do you create a connection for the client? A lot of ways to do that. But the point is, it's the client that gets to define whether he or she feels related to or not. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you think. You may think you had a great connection. If the client doesn't feel that connection, you lose. And so our work is always focused on how do we create an experience where the client feels related to, especially in a luxury business like all of you have. A client has an expectation, a high expectation, that the business will be suited to his or her own interests, needs, desires, and wants. And so one way to get there, of course, is Med C. It's just a way of learning what it is the client values most, and then whatever you share after that should be a response to that. Let me just ask, I've said a lot here. Is there anyone who has a question about anything I've said so far? If so, drop it in the chat. Okay, let me ask someone this. Who has had an experience in the last couple of weeks or the last month where the client has brought up the topic of commissions and the lawsuit and all that stuff? And how did you handle that? Please just drop it in the chat and just say, I had that experience. We'll take a couple of people off of mute. If you've had that experience in the last week or two, whether it went well or it didn't go well, doesn't matter. Just put it in the chat and we'll ask you to come off of mute for a minute. Okay, Jessica, can you bring yourself off mute?
Hi.
Hi there. Briefly tell us what was the situation and how did you handle it?
I had it twice for buyers and once for sellers.
Okay.
And for the buyers, I just explained it's kind of business as usual, more disclosures, obviously. And as of now, the sellers are paying my commission. My commission is X, and I'll obviously show you that this is all the case. If it's not the case, I will obviously let you know, and we can take each situation by, because I've been working before the lawsuit started. And I was like, we can take each situation, periodically, and we'll figure out then. I could always put it in negotiation to negotiate that percentage difference if there's a percentage difference. And they were like, okay. But I think because and then that was one, and then the other one, because it was even a smaller deal, was like, I don't even want to deal with this, even though I showed them like 90% of it is paying it. And then for my other sale, they were like, okay, like we're so busy that like we're fine paying because we don't have the capacity to even try to negotiate and save money at this point. So it's just interesting because one was queen, the buyers were queens and the sellers were Manhattan. And so I think in depending on like the price point, although they're all around the same / like the areas you are in the world is how it.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you. And one thing we've seen with our clients across the country is different regions have such different ways of doing things. Like, for example, New York City, anyway, parts of New York City doesn't even have an MLS. And so some of these rules and some of the settlements will affect different regions differently. So for some people, it's like, this is kind of business as usual. In other places, it's, oh my gosh, this is a big change. Ultimately, though, of course, it does come back to your ability to provide a clearly understandable and attractive presentation of value. And so we always say, of course, that you need to have some kind of a simple explanation, a printed list of the services that you provide to sellers. You should have something for buyers as well. Something that's easy for people to look at and say, oh, that's what you provide in return for your commission. Because we all know 99% of the clients out there have no idea the many, many, many things we do on their behalf, right? They say, okay, well, you put the house on the market. Yeah, you handle the negotiation. I'm supposed to pay you $50,000 for that. They don't realize all the things that are in there. And so for so many successful clients, they have a simple explanation in print or somewhere they can provide it to the client where the client says, oh my gosh, I had no idea this is what I'm getting. How many of you do not have something like that? I'm curious. Just raise your hand if you do not have some kind of a printed list of the specific services and actions that you do on behalf of your clients. Okay, looks like nobody. Great. That's good. Let me ask this. If you had to face a conversation, I see a hand up right now. Corey, you have a hand up?
Yeah, I have the list that Chirag has, but I don't have like my own list of stuff that I send to people or share with people for this yet.
Yep, got it. So thank you, Corey. So there is a list. We've got a list for working with buyers and another for working with sellers. It's on the platform. It's available to everybody. And you can use that as a starting point. We've got I don't want to say generic, but it's a pretty common list of actions that take place for the buyers and for sellers. And so if you don't have something, start there. And then talk with your team about it, see how you'd want to modify that particular list, and then brand it for yourselves so that you have something to offer. Because it's not that the clients have a resistance to understanding what it is that you offer. And it may not be that they have trouble understanding. It's simply that they haven't been shown. So many clients, even if they've been through the process once or twice already, they really don't know. And so one of the things we can do is make sure that we're providing that clarity and comfort for them, right? They can't be comfortable without clarity, right? It's a basic kind of element of human nature. We can feel comfortable when we're in a known space. We tend to feel uncomfortable when we're in unknown space. And some of the theory behind that neurobiologically is about, being able to spot predators or have situations where you sense there could be some kind of physical risk to yourself, that this may go way back in our DNA somewhere, that our brain is wired to notice risk or to pay attention to risk. And the only way that we can kind of remove that discomfort that we might have is to be in a known space. And so for anyone who's been through the process, even once or twice already, there may be a lot that they don't know. And so for a person to say yes to you, part of that is for them to understand who you are, where you're coming from. Mary, did you have a hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, David. Actually, Leonard had 2 brilliant articles in his compilations, Monday and Tuesday. He brought it to the next level. We have a list, Chirag gave us these lists and I use them all the time. But agents who have been saying, this sold in 3 days or that sold in 7 days for so many thousands, hundreds of thousands over, that gives the public a false understanding of what we do. We just make money, a lot of money really quickly. But Leonard actually broke it down to, this is the sale that sold in 3 days. And this is what I did before that happened. 4 months of work. It was really brilliant. He did one for the seller for a sale, and he did one for a buy. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I am now using it in my presentations. It's dynamite.
Got it. Thank you for that, Mary. That was yesterday or when?
Yeah.
Yesterday?
Monday he did seller, and I believe Tuesday he did buyer. It was fabulous. I've just copied it and I tweak it on particular sales, individual sales.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary. So another victory for the community here, right? I mean, one of the most valuable things that we see in the CSC world is that there's a community of people here willing to share, willing to collaborate without ego. So if anybody missed that, certainly check it out. Thank you. So let me just ask one final question. What is it that and this may be a little hard to answer. What is it that if you had it, you knew that you would nail these kinds of conversations? Can you think specifically of the one thing that you think you need in order to nail these conversations? And if so, what is that? We talked about confidence before, a couple other things, but I'm just curious, what is it that you think you need to nail these conversations? So I see nothing going in the chat there. So that it means either you don't need anything, which means you're supremely confident, or you don't know what you need, but you need something. Right? As people said before, well, I'm 75% there, most of the way there, kind of the way there. Confidence, that's certainly a big one. Sarah, confidence comes from your own clarity, right? And your own call it clarity, right? Your own known space. When you know that you can nail something, when you know what you're talking about, you feel that confidence. When you're not quite sure and you have that question, of course, that's, in a sense, the definition of not being confident. And so for all of us, we want to make sure that we're not just trying to groove a script, but that we are understanding how this script is a piece of our philosophy as service providers. Right. And so every one of us is offering a luxury service. We're trying to create a luxury experience for the client, one in which the client, among other things, feels completely or totally or accurately related to, as I said before. If the client can feel related to by you, you have every opportunity, even if your particular way of communicating something isn't perfect, people will choose connection. Yeah, there's slick things. There's nothing wrong with being able to say things well. And of course, it's very important to say things well and communicate effectively. But people will not necessarily buy something from somebody who's slick if they don't feel a true connection to that person. And so while we're all thinking about scripts and how do we communicate this and how do we communicate that, remember that your success in delivering the sale is all about your ability to create that feeling of being connected to within the client. And if you've got that, it's okay if you're not 100% confident, Sarah. And this is for everybody too. It's okay if you're not 100% confident or 100% skillful. The client will feel that connection, and very often that's enough to put you over the top. All right, well, listen, everybody, so glad to be with you this morning. Sorry we couldn't do it with our original plan. Hope you took something out of today's conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesdays going forward at 11:30 Eastern, and hope you're enjoying the rest of the roadmap. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Quick question. What's happening at 12 that you mentioned with Chirag?
Oh, yeah, you should have received a message about Chirag doing a 4-session series on Thursdays at 12. Is that starting today? Hold on a minute. Let me just double check. Can anyone help me with this? I can't remember the dates for it, but there should have been the emails going out to everybody about the 4-session, special 4-session
sent
program.
out the email?
Pardon?
Who sent out the email?
Oh, it came from Chirag Shah Coaching. Hold on a minute. Here it is. I'm just going to share this. Everybody should have gotten this. Have you guys seen these notices going out? They've gone out last week or so. Getting buyers and sellers to pay full commission, even with the NAR settlement. First week is today at noon, right now. Second week is next week. Third is the week after that. And fourth is the fourth week of April.
Is there a link?
Well, I've been getting these emails, so I assume everybody else has too. Let me see.
I think he's been promoting stuff on Instagram about this, but I don't.
Well,
Yeah,
I got it as a simple email. I've gotten a couple of them. So everybody on the roadmap should be getting these messages.
I haven't seen it.
All right. Did anyone see one? Let's see, 9 a.m. this morning, titled, "By this time next year, will you still be in business?" I received it this morning at 9 a.m.
Did not receive it.
Okay.
And what happens to the people who are doing Matt Spangler at 12?
That's a good question. I'm not
That's
sure.
not good. Want to
Let me ask you this. Did anyone receive a message on Wednesday, April 3rd? That's yesterday at 6 p.m. I received a message called, "Earth to David, are you listening?"
No.
No.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm sorry, I can't give you any more information. However, I can say that the stuff is going to be recorded. So we'll figure it out. And we'll have to get some messages out to
Would
them.
you mind putting the register link into the chat? I think that will help half the people here, and then we can figure out the other half.
Yes, hold on a minute. Yep.
It's 12, so who knows?
Yep, no, it's right now. Let me pull this up for everybody. All right, put it in the chat. Okay, there you go. All right, if you want to hop on, it's 4 sessions. They're 30-minute sessions over this month on Thursdays at 12. And look forward to seeing you there or somewhere else. Matt's is at 1 o'clock Eastern, isn't that correct? Yeah, Matt starts at 1 Eastern.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, everyone,
Well,
I'm going to.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Talk again soon.